So Jill, what prompted you to write this article?
Well, if you've joined us live before, typically all of our articles are prompted by something that's happening in our own lives. We're pretty personal in our Thrive Thursday articles. So what prompted it is that something disappointing happened. I was looking forward to an event, a social event, and was all ready to go, and then got the text that the event was canceled, and I was like, now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And so it prompted the article of, okay, well, yeah, now what do you do? And so I had a block of time, and I used that block of time to write about disappointment. So here I am sitting in my disappointment, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this next hour that just became free? Well, I guess I'll write about the fact that I'm disappointed that what I wanted to be doing for this hour isn't happening. So that was the inspiration behind it. And what I have found interesting is, and we talk about this a lot, is that evolution of how I deal, and I know you have similar stories, how I deal with different emotions and how the tools in my toolbox in this work that we do contributes to being able to navigate life situations in a more efficient way. And I think one of the things that I'm really learning a lot about lately is there is a part of me that wishes the emotional side of it wasn't so sticky or icky or challenging at times. And so what I'm figuring out is that it's not the emotion that's the issue. We're going to feel all those different emotions. We're going to feel sadness and excitement and disappointment and grief, and the emotions are there for a reason. But what I'm realizing is that my tools help me navigate those emotions in a way that allows them to pass more fluidly. It allows them to be less damaging, because sometimes those heavier emotions have been damaging. They stick around for me for a long time, and they cause detrimental thought tapes and all of this other stuff. So I think that's one of the things that is in the article is, okay, so now you're feeling disappointed. What do you do with it? Mm-hmm. So you can feel the feeling. I can feel disappointed. I can be sad and disappointed that my event fell through, but then what do I do with it?
And that's a beautiful question, because whether it's something light, your social plans fell through, or something more traumatizing, something, more impactful or, life-altering, the same tools can be used. Right. Yeah, so can you go through some of those tools for us?
So I think the first thing that I did was look at awareness. Like, oh, okay, what's happening right now? I'm disappointed. Okay, that's the emotion. I'm feeling a sadness, and I was excited, and now there's a contrast to that. And so what I'm aware of is that for me can be very triggering. I can go into a thought pattern that says, see, I've spent so much time being disappointed and nobody wants to hang out with me and my stuff canceled and I don't even know why I get excited about stuff and I suck at life. And so I can go into this thought tape, and what I know about thought tapes are that if we don't pay attention to them and we don't stop them in their tracks, they will take on a life of their own and they'll pick up some significant momentum.
And what's beautiful about that tool is you can apply that to relationships. My boyfriend stood me up. My marriage didn't work. Instead of going into, it was because of me, I'm a horrible person, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad friend, I'm a bad girlfriend. You can use that. Right. You don't have to go down that spiral.
Right.
It may not be about you.
Right.
And 99.9% of the time, it's not. You may have had a role in it, but it's not because you're a bad person.
Right. My plans weren't canceled because my friend didn't want to hang out with me. That wasn't the truth. And yet that habitual thought tape, that old programming kicks in.
Yeah.
And if we don't pay attention to it and we don't actively put a stop to it, it's just a runaway train. And so that's the first step for me, is recognizing, whoa, look at that runaway train, and having
I don't want to be on it.
And having enough presence to say, wait a minute, that blew up quickly, right? And so that was the first step, is to just recognize it. The second step is for me to acknowledge the fact that, you're disappointed, and that's okay. And it's not about shunning the emotion or putting it away or pretending that those emotions don't exist, because they do. And so we want to acknowledge the fact that those emotions are there. I then went into sort of a fact check, which is something that I'm playing with lately, in So the fact is my plans were canceled. That doesn't mean I suck at life and that everybody hates me and that nobody wants to hang out with me and all of some of these other ideas that were looping in. And so bringing it back to what's true right now. Well, what's true right now is my plans for the next hour have been canceled. And that is it. That is the end of the truth of this story. And so for me, that was really helpful to kind of prevent that runaway train syndrome that I can get into. And then from there, once I was like, oh, well, the fact is, you know, you're disappointed because this one event canceled. Now I can get into, well, what do I want? And I can get into the essence of that. So now I'm turning a disappointment into a desire, which is a much more powerful place to spend time. And it turns sort of that feeling of lack, like, oh, I don't get to have what I want right now, into a, ooh, I can be excited about what I might be going after next.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I'm getting clear on what I do want, and what I wanted was, you know, I want connection, I want people around, I want to feel loved and engaged, I want to, you know, whatever that list of feelings was. Now, when I go to take action, I can take action out of that desire, so an action that aligns with where I want to be, instead of an action out of the disappointment. And so, and another old pattern of mine would be to take action out of the disappointment, and it might look like eating crappy food. It might look like a pity party. It might look like, you know, bitching to people, or you know, throwing that anger out back into the world.
You go into licking your wound and soothing that side of you instead of looking forward. You know, instead of the positive action, you go into, you know, bandaging the wound and licking the wound and, oh, woe is me, and you go into that place of sorrow.
Yeah. And so then my action is in alignment with the sorrow and the disappointment, which we believe energetically creates more disappointment, right? It keeps me stuck in that place, rather than saying, oh, there you are, wound. You're going to heal.
Nice
you're
Band-Aid.
good. I'm going to be over here doing the next thing, which will allow me to step into feeling better. So again, it's not about ignoring that pain or that disappointment. It's about saying, yep, you're there. That's true. I get you. I feel you. And my action is going to take me to the next thing that I want to experience, instead of staying stuck on that hamster wheel.
Right. And sometimes we do get in a position where we are so stuck. And even if we can't take an action, just the shift in focus.
Yes.
What can I do now? Just shifting your mind that little bit about, or what would I rather be thinking?
Yes.
It's just enough to kind of get you in that trajectory, or out of the downward spiral.
Absolutely. Yeah. So even if it's just putting the brakes on and saying, I can't do anything right now because I'm not in the right place in my own energy to do something positive or to do something in a direction that I want to go, what I can do is, okay, then I'm just going to stay here for a minute until I build up enough strength to take a positive step. And so there's a difference between allowing ourselves to feed the sorrow or the disappointment and allowing that runaway train to take over, versus saying, pump the brakes.
I like the brakes.
I'm going to stay right here until I can make a different choice. And so that sort of self-regulation of, all right, slow down, take a breath, take a beat, and when I can take a step that feels in alignment with who I want to be and where I want to go, then take the step. But until then, let's just hold here for a second.
And I like what you said earlier, just analyzing the reality of the moment. My plans just got canceled. That's all that happened.
Yes. This isn't an indication of where the last decade of my life has been.
I'm not defined by this one moment in time, not determine who I am as a person.
Yeah. I've been having some conversations, really impactful conversations around this idea of alternative facts. It's a political word that's out in our environment right now, but at Thrive, we're looking at it a little bit differently, because there is a place for alternate facts in personal development. And so the fact was my friend canceled. The fact is other friends have canceled. The fact is I have had struggles in my life that feel yucky. The fact is I have had a period of time that isn't exactly where I want to be in life, if I were to paint a beautiful picture. So yeah, those facts are there, and when I spend time in those facts, it's damaging to who I am as a loving being. And so yes, those facts are there, and I hadn't recognized up until about a week ago that I was using those facts to beat myself up. Like, okay, let's go through the timeline of your life and look for every piece of evidence, everything that has happened in your world that you can use to beat yourself up. And I'm like, I didn't recognize it because it was just a fact check. Like, well, those are facts. That is what happened. I did go through divorce. I did have this happen. I have had these struggles. And so I was seeing them as being facts instead of recognizing the fact that I was using those facts to hurt myself.
Right. I can create new facts. My facts can be different now. My fact can be that I'm a cool person. My fact can be that I'm growing new wings and I'm becoming stronger. And all those facts I had in the past are awesome because they all contributed to who I am.
Right.
And now I can take them and what do I want to be? How do I want to express myself now?
That and, yes, those are true things that happened. And hand in hand with those true things are additional facts.
Yeah.
I got through some hard stuff. I have persevered through some really interesting stories. I have operated with grace and joy. I've parented my children. I have done all of these things simultaneously with these other facts. And so here's the fact. This happened and this happened in the exact same moment. And so I can beat myself up with this fact, or I can celebrate myself with this fact. And I sometimes get stuck in beating myself up with this fact instead of sinking into this is also true. It's the exact same story, and it's a different angle on it, and it is absolutely factual.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we do at Thrive. It's what's working.
Yeah.
We always start with what's working, what's going right, where are your strengths. Let's get solid in that.
Yes. Yes. And so for me, the alternate facts is, yes, this was disappointing, and I used that time really well, and I wrote a cool article, and it went out to all of you, and now we're talking about it. So which fact do I want to get stuck on? Do I want to get stuck in the disappointment, or do I want to focus on and expand another part of that fact? So the invitation to all of you is the big awareness for me that came through even after writing the article was that I was using old facts to be mean to myself, and I wasn't even aware of it, even as broad as my awareness is. I didn't catch that one in live time. So I'm going to just invite you to do a scan of how are you talking to yourself, what's happening in your thought tapes right now, and see if this one is relevant to you. Are you using old facts and stories and little sound bites of information to be really harsh on yourself and to make up stories and to make up thought patterns that aren't even real? So so it was one disappointment. It isn't a lifetime of disappointment.
And it's all human stuff. We all do it to some degree in our life and for different aspects of our life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not thinking of a specific example, but it's quite possible that I've had this awareness about using facts to be mean to myself at other times, and now I'm having it again. And so that's really what it is. I'm aware of this. Oh, I'm aware of this again. Oh, there it is again. Isn't that interesting? And so we really are cyclical in
That's
how
why
we
they're tools. You play with them.
Yes, and we build new tools and we get stronger at them. And if we never use the tools, they atrophy. And so we get to reuse the tools over and over again and grow their strength and keep moving forward.